Chapter 1. New year, new plans. The champagne flutes were still sweating on the coffee table, half filled with bubbles that had lost their ambition. Outside, the city was muffled under a blanket of snow, the kind that made streetlights glow like halos. Inside, William Howard, Bill to everyone who mattered, sat cross-legged on the couch, laptop balanced on his knees, staring at a Pinterest board titled Dream Wedding Vibes. It looked less like a dream and more like a financial nightmare. Across from him, Samantha Cartwright was perched on the armrest like a queen surveying her kingdom. Her phone was in one hand, a wedding magazine in the other, and her voice carried the kind of excitement that could power a small town. "Bill, look at this centerpiece," she said, shoving the magazine toward him. "Peonies mixed with eucalyptus. It's elegant but not pretentious." Bill glanced at the photo. "Looks like a salad someone forgot to toss." Samantha rolled her eyes. "You have no aesthetic sense." "I have plenty of aesthetic sense," Bill said, setting the laptop aside. "I just think flowers should stay in gardens, not bankrupt us." She laughed, the sound bright and easy, and for a moment Bill felt that familiar warmth, the one that had kept him steady through 3.5 years of dating. He loved her laugh. He loved her, which was why he proposed last month, after weeks of agonizing over timing and rings and whether marriage was still a sane institution in a world where half the people he knew were divorced. Marriage, Bill believed, wasn't about butterflies. Butterflies died after a week. Marriage was about showing up, even when you didn't feel like it. It was about consistency, loyalty, and the kind of stubborn love that didn't flinch when life threw curveballs. He'd seen enough wreckage to know that. Samantha, on the other hand, was currently debating the merits of gold-trimmed napkins versus ivory lace. "Do you think gold is too flashy?" she asked, biting her lip. Bill shrugged. "Depends. Are we trying to impress the guests or blind them?" She smacked his arm playfully. "You're impossible. And yet you said yes," he reminded her, grinning. Her smile softened. "Best decision I ever made." For a beat, the room felt perfect, warm, safe, full of promise. Then Samantha's phone buzzed, and she glanced at the screen. "Tammy says the gym is running a New Year's special. 3 months for the price of 2. Bill raised an eyebrow. "Gym?" "Yeah." Samantha flipped the magazine shut. "I want to tone up before the wedding. Look perfect in the dress." Bill leaned back, studying her. "You already look perfect." She smiled, but it was the kind of smile people give when they appreciate the sentiment but don't believe it. "You're sweet. But I want to feel amazing in those pictures." Bill considered arguing, then decided against it. If hitting the gym made her happy, who was he to stand in the way? "Go for it," he said. "Just don't turn into one of those people who talks about macros and protein shakes at dinner." She laughed. No promises. Later that night, after Samantha had gone to bed, Bill sat alone with the laptop, scrolling through wedding budgets like they were horror stories. He wasn't worried, not yet. But something about her eagerness to change herself for the wedding tugged at him. He wanted her to feel beautiful, sure. He just hoped she remembered she already was. Outside, fireworks cracked in the distance, painting the sky in fleeting colors. Bill raised his glass in a quiet toast to the new year. "Here's to consistency," he thought, "and to surviving wedding planning without losing my mind." The next morning, Samantha was up early, hair in a messy bun, leggings on, chatting with Tammy on speakerphone about gym schedules. Bill shuffled into the kitchen, bleary-eyed, and poured himself coffee. "Morning," he mumbled. "Morning," Samantha chirped. "Tammy and I are starting tonight. 3 nights a week, after work." Bill sipped his coffee. "Sounds sweaty." Tammy's voice crackled through the phone. "We're gonna crush it, Sam. Bikini season starts now." Bill raised an eyebrow. "Pretty sure it's snowing." Tammy laughed. "Ignore him. He's just jealous." Bill smirked. "Of what? Treadmills?" "No thanks." Samantha shot him a look. "You could come with us." Bill held up a hand. "I value my dignity." She grinned. "Suit yourself." By evening, Samantha was out the door in neon sneakers, and Bill was left with leftover pizza and Netflix. He didn't mind. Not really. This was temporary. A few months of gym nights, then back to normal. At least, that's what he told himself as he scrolled past yet another wedding expense spreadsheet. Chapter 2. The Gym Glow. The first week of Samantha's gym adventure passed without incident. 3 nights a week, she and Tammy disappeared into the fluorescent-lit temple of treadmills and resistance bands, returning home flushed and tired, hair damp with sweat, leggings clinging like second skin. William would greet her at the door with a smile and a reheated plate of whatever he'd cooked, usually pasta because pasta didn't judge. "You look like you wrestled a bear," he said one night, handing her a fork. Samantha laughed, collapsing onto the couch. "Feels like it. My legs are jelly." Bill grinned. "Sounds fun." "It's torture," she admitted, then added with a mischievous smile. "But good torture." Bill raised an eyebrow. "There's good torture now?" "Apparently," she said, digging into her food. "Tammy says pain is progress." Bill chewed on that literally and figuratively. He wasn't worried. Not yet. Samantha was glowing. "Sure. But that was normal for someone who'd just discovered endorphins. He figured she'd get bored eventually. Everyone did. Gym memberships were like New Year's resolutions. Great in theory, tragic in practice. By the third week, Samantha's glow had evolved. It wasn't just post-workout flush. It was something lighter, brighter, like she'd swallowed a sunbeam. She started humming while folding laundry, smiling at nothing in particular. Bill noticed, but chalked it up to wedding excitement. He wasn't the jealous type. At least, that's what he told himself. Then came the night Tammy bailed. Bill was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of chili, when Samantha breezed in wearing neon sneakers and determination. "Tammy can't make it," she said, grabbing her water bottle. "But I'm still going." Bill frowned. "Alone?" "Not alone," she said, tying her hair into a ponytail. "Jake will be there." Bill froze, spoon hovering midair. "Jake?" "Yeah, the trainer," Samantha said casually, like she was mentioning the weather. "He's amazing. Totally changed how I see fitness." Bill forced a smile. "Amazing, huh?" She didn't notice the edge in his voice. "He's so motivating. Like, yesterday he said, 'You're stronger than you think.' And I believed him." Bill stirred the chili like it had personally offended him. "Sounds inspiring." "It is," she said, kissing his cheek before heading out. "Don't wait up." The door clicked shut, and Bill stared at the pot, his gut tightening. Jake. Of course his name was Jake. It was never Harold or Eugene. Always Jake. The kind of guy who probably had abs you could grate cheese on and a smile that made women forget vowels. Bill grabbed his phone and typed into Google, "Signs your fiancée is into her trainer." The results were a carnival of paranoia. She's glowing. She's cheating. She mentions his name. Pack your bags. She skips dinner. Start therapy. Bill tossed the phone aside. He wasn't going to spiral. Not yet. 2 nights later, Samantha came home practically levitating. "Guess what?" she said, kicking off her sneakers. "Jake says I have great form." Bill looked up from his laptop. "Great form?" "Yeah," she said, grinning. "He says most beginners struggle, but I'm a natural." Bill closed the laptop slowly. "That's good." She flopped onto the couch, scrolling through her phone. "He even showed me this new routine. It's killer." Bill stared at her, words sticking like gum in his throat. He wanted to say, "Why does Jake know more about your body than I do?" Instead, he swallowed hard and managed, "Cool." By the end of the month, Samantha was practically a motivational poster. She talked about macros, hydration, and something called HIIT like she'd joined a cult. Bill tried to keep up, but every conversation felt like a pop quiz he hadn't studied for. Finally, in a moment of misguided optimism, he decided to join her for a workout. The gym smelled like ambition and disinfectant. Bill followed Samantha past rows of machines that looked like medieval torture devices. Jake was there. Of course he was lean, tan, and grinning like he owned the place. His handshake was firm, his teeth suspiciously white. "Bill, great to meet you," Jake said, clapping him on the shoulder like they were old friends. "Ready to crush it?" Bill forced a smile. "Define crush." Jake laughed. "We'll start light. Warm up on the treadmill." 10 minutes later, Bill was questioning every life choice that had led him here. His lungs burned, his legs screamed, and Jake's voice was a relentless cheerleader in the background. "You got this, man. Push through." Bill wanted to push through Jake's teeth. By the time they finished, Bill was drenched, humiliated, and convinced that gym culture was a conspiracy to kill people slowly. Samantha, meanwhile, looked radiant, chatting with Jake about protein intake like they were co-hosting a fitness podcast. On the drive home, Bill stared out the window, silent. Samantha glanced at him. "You okay?" "Peachy," he said flatly. "You did great," she said, squeezing his hand. Bill managed to smile, but inside, a storm was brewing. He wasn't sure if it was jealousy or something darker. Fear. Fear that he was watching the beginning of an ending he didn't want. Chapter 3. Comparisons begin. By mid-February, William had developed a complicated relationship with the name Jake. It wasn't jealousy. At least, that's what he told himself while brushing his teeth at night. It was irritation, like a mosquito buzzing in his ear, persistent and impossible to ignore. Jake had become a recurring character in their conversations, popping up like an unwanted guest who never got the hint. Samantha didn't gush, at least not in a way that sounded romantic, but she talked about him with a kind of reverence that made Bill's stomach knot. Started small. One evening, Bill was chopping onions for dinner when Samantha walked in, glowing from her workout. "You know," she said, tossing her gym bag onto the chair, "Jake says hydration is key for muscle recovery." Bill raised an eyebrow. "Good to know. I'll tell my biceps." She laughed, oblivious to the sarcasm. "Seriously, you should drink more water." Bill held up the onion like it was Exhibit A. "Pretty sure this counts as hydration." She grinned. "Not quite." Then came the comparisons. They were subtle at first, like cracks in a windshield, barely noticeable until the whole thing shattered. Bill was venting about work one night, pacing the living room. "My boss wants the report by Friday, but the data's a mess. I swear. They think I'm a magician." Samantha, curled up on the couch scrolling through her phone, said without looking up, Jake always says pressure makes you stronger. Bill stopped mid-step. Jake says. She glanced up, smiling. Yeah, like when you're lifting weights. Resistance builds strength. Bill stared at her. So Jake's a philosopher now? She laughed. It's just a metaphor. Bill forced a smile, but inside, something twisted. He didn't want to be petty. He didn't want to care. But every time Jake's name slipped into their conversations, it felt like a pebble in his shoe, small, but impossible to ignore. The next week, it got worse. They were having dinner, Bill's famous chili. The one Samantha had once declared, better than her mom's. He was halfway through a story about a client meltdown when Samantha interrupted. You know, she said, spoon poised midair. Jake would have handled that differently. Bill froze. Excuse me, she shrugged. He's all about staying calm under pressure. He says. Bill set his spoon down slowly. Jake says a lot, doesn't he? Samantha blinked, caught off guard. I'm just saying. I got it, Bill said, voice tight. Jake's basically the Dalai Lama of dumbbells. She frowned. Why are you being weird? Bill leaned back, staring at her. Because every time I open my mouth, Jake's apparently got a better answer. That's not true, she said, defensive now. He's motivating. Bill laughed, but it wasn't funny. Motivating for who? Her eyes widened. Bill, he held up a hand. Forget it. Later that night, Bill lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Samantha's soft breathing beside him. He wasn't angry, not exactly. He was unsettled. He'd seen this movie before. His brother had lived it, and the ending wasn't pretty. First came the mood shifts, then the late nights, then the comparisons. 3 weeks later, she was gone with the trainer. Bill turned onto his side, watching Samantha sleep. He loved her. God, he loved her. But love couldn't survive disrespect. And if this was the start of something, he needed to decide whether to fight for her or walk away before the fire consumed them both. The next morning, Samantha was cheerful, humming as she made coffee. Bill watched her, words heavy on his tongue. He wanted to ask, do you even hear yourself? But he stayed silent, for now, because deep down he knew something had shifted, and he wasn't sure if it could shift back. Chapter 4. The last straw. The apartment smelled like roasted garlic and quiet tension. William had gone all out, pan-seared salmon, asparagus, and a bottle of wine he'd been saving for a special occasion. He wasn't sure if tonight qualified, but something told him it was going to be memorable one way or another. Samantha walked in humming, cheeks flushed from the cold, gym bag slung over her shoulder. Smells amazing, she said, dropping the bag by the door. You didn't have to do all this. Bill smiled faintly. Figured we could have a nice dinner. Just us. She kissed his cheek, then disappeared into the bedroom to change. Bill stared at the engagement ring on her finger as she walked away, his chest tightening. He'd been rehearsing what he needed to say all day, but the words felt like bricks in his throat. They sat across from each other, candles flickering between them. Samantha dug into her salmon with enthusiasm. This is incredible, she said. You're spoiling me. Bill managed to smile. Glad you like it. For a few minutes, conversation flowed easily. Work updates, wedding plans, Tammy's latest drama. Bill listened, nodding, waiting for the moment. Came sooner than he expected. He was telling her about a client presentation gone sideways when Samantha interrupted, laughing lightly. You know, Jake would have handled that differently. The words landed like a slap. Bill set his fork down slowly. Jake? Yeah, she said, oblivious to the storm brewing across the table. He's all about staying calm under pressure. He says. Bill reached across the table, taking her hands in his. She smiled, until he slipped the engagement ring off her finger. Her laughter died. Bill, what are you doing? He held the ring between his fingers, staring at it like it was a relic from another life. I'm calling off the wedding, Samantha. Her eyes widened, panic flooding her face. What? Why? What's going on? Bill could have walked away. He almost did. But if there was even a chance this was careless behavior and not something deeper, he needed to say the words sitting on his chest like an anchor. He took a breath. You've been a different person these last couple of months. She blinked. Of course I have. I've been working out, getting ready for the wedding. Bill chuckled, but it wasn't a funny sound. That's not all you've been doing. Her brow furrowed. I don't understand. That's the problem, Bill said softly. He leaned back, voice steady but sharp. For 2 months, everything I do gets compared to your trainer. Since when did a man you've known for a couple of months become so important that you think it's okay to compare me to him? To my face. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Bill pressed on. Either you're having an affair with Jake, or you don't respect me. In either case, I'm not marrying someone who's hung up on another man while pretending to be my future. Samantha's voice cracked. Bill, no, I'm not. He stood, slipping the ring into his pocket. I'm staying at my parents' until I figure out what I want. Please, she said, rising to her feet, tears brimming. Don't do this. I love you. Bill paused at the door, heart pounding. Then start acting like it. And with that, he walked out, leaving behind the candles, the salmon, and a silence that felt heavier than any argument. Samantha stood frozen, the apartment suddenly too big, too quiet. She grabbed her phone, dialing his number, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic clawed at her chest. Within minutes, she was in her car, heading to her parents' house, desperate for answers she wasn't sure she wanted to hear. Chapter 5. Fallout. The steering wheel felt slick under Samantha's grip, though her palms weren't sweating. They were trembling. The city lights blurred past as she sped toward her parents' house, heart pounding like a drumline in her chest. She replayed the scene over and over. Bill's calm voice, the ring sliding off her finger, the door closing behind him like a verdict. She didn't understand. She wasn't cheating. She wasn't even thinking about cheating. Jake was just Jake, a trainer, a motivator, a guy who knew his way around a squat rack. How had this spiraled into a canceled wedding? Her phone sat silent in the passenger seat, mocking her. She'd called twice, left voicemails that sounded increasingly desperate. Bill, please call me. I don't know what's happening. I love you. Nothing. Straight to voicemail every time. By the time she pulled into her parents' driveway, her throat was raw from holding back tears. Her mother opened the door before Samantha could knock, as if she'd sensed the storm brewing. "Sweetheart," she said, eyes widening at the sight of her daughter's blotchy cheeks. "What happened?" Samantha collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing. "Bill, he called off the wedding." Her father appeared in the hallway, brows knitting. "Called off the wedding? Why?" Samantha shook her head, words tumbling out in broken pieces. "He said I don't respect him, that I'm hung up on someone else." Her mother guided her to the couch, voice gentle but firm. "Start from the beginning." 10 minutes later, Samantha had spilled everything. The gym, the trainer, the comparison she'd made without thinking. Her parents listened in silence, exchanging glances that made Samantha's stomach twist. Finally, her father spoke. "Sam, how would you feel if Bill started comparing you to another woman? Constantly. To your face." Samantha opened her mouth, then closed it. The answer was obvious. She'd hate it. She'd feel small, inadequate, humiliated. Her mother squeezed her hand. "Marriage isn't dating, honey. It's work. And respect is the foundation. If he feels disrespected, that's serious." Samantha's voice cracked. "I wasn't trying to hurt him." "I know," her mother said softly. "But intent doesn't erase impact." Tammy arrived an hour later, summoned by a frantic text. She plopped onto the armchair, eyes wide. "Okay, what the hell happened?" Samantha repeated the story, hoping Tammy would side with her, tell her Bill was overreacting. Instead, Tammy winced. "Sam, you do talk about Jake a lot." Samantha stared at her. "Not like that." Tammy shrugged. "Maybe not in your head, but out loud? It sounds intense." Samantha buried her face in her hands. "I love Bill. I don't want Jake. He was motivating. That's all." Tammy leaned forward. "Then you need to make that crystal clear. And maybe ask yourself why you needed that kind of validation in the first place." The words stung because they were true. Samantha had wanted to feel beautiful, strong, admired. And somewhere along the way, she'd let that desire blur the lines. By midnight, Samantha was curled up in her childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling. Her parents' voices echoed in her head. "Are you ready for marriage? Do you understand what it takes?" She thought she did. But tonight, everything felt uncertain. She grabbed her phone, typing a message she hoped would reach him. "Bill, please. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. I love you. I want us. Call me when you're ready." She hit send, then lay back, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. For the first time since the proposal, Samantha wondered if love was enough, or if she'd already lost the man she wanted to spend forever with. Chapter 6. William's retreat. William Howard hadn't slept much. The guest room at his parents' house was comfortable enough, soft sheets, familiar creak in the floorboards, but his mind was a battlefield. He lay staring at the ceiling, the engagement ring on the nightstand catching the faint glow of the streetlight outside. It looked small, harmless. Funny how something so tiny could carry the weight of an entire future. Downstairs, the smell of bacon drifted up like a peace offering. Bill dragged himself out of bed, threw on a hoodie, and padded into the kitchen where his mother was orchestrating breakfast like a general commanding troops. "Morning, sweetheart," she said, flipping pancakes with surgical precision. "Coffee's ready." Bill grunted something that might have been thanks and poured himself a mug. His father sat at the table, newspaper spread out, glasses perched on his nose like wisdom incarnate. "So," his dad said without looking up, "you called off the wedding." Bill froze mid-sip. "Morning to you too." His dad shrugged. "Figured we'd skip the small talk." Bill sat down, wrapping his hands around the mug like it could anchor him. "Yeah, I did." His mother slid a plate of pancakes in front of him, her expression soft but probing. "Want to tell us why?" Bill sighed, staring at the syrup bottle. "She's been different ever since she started going to the gym." "Different how?" his dad asked, folding the paper. Bill hesitated. "There's this trainer, Jake." His dad snorted. "Of course his name is Jake. Bill shot him a look. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, his dad said, smirking. Just, Jake. Sounds like a guy who flexes in the mirror for fun. Bill almost laughed, but the knot in his chest was too tight. She talks about him all the time, compares me to him, like he's some kind of guru. His mother frowned. Did you tell her how that makes you feel? Bill nodded. Tonight, over dinner. And then I took the ring back. His dad whistled low. Bold move. Bill rubbed his face. I don't know if I overreacted. His mother sat across from him, voice gentle but firm. Bill, marriage is built on respect. If you feel disrespected, that's not something you ignore. I know, Bill said quietly, but I love her. His dad leaned back, arms crossed. Love's great, but love without boundaries? That's a slow death. Bill stared at his plate, appetite gone. So what do I do? His dad grinned. Boxing lessons. Bill blinked. What? Knock out Jake, his dad said. Dead serious or maybe not? Problem solved. Bill groaned. Thanks, Dad. Very helpful. His mother rolled her eyes. Ignore him. You need clarity, not violence. Bill managed a weak smile. Clarity sounds good. How do I get that? Time, his mother said simply. And honesty. With her and with yourself. Later, Bill sat on the porch, nursing his second cup of coffee and staring at the frost on the railing. He thought about Samantha, her laugh, her stubborn streak, the way she'd looked at him when he slipped the ring off her finger. Shock, hurt, maybe love. He didn't doubt her feelings. But feelings weren't enough. Not for him. He pulled out his phone, saw her messages, 3 missed calls, 2 texts. Bill, please. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. I love you. Call me when you're ready. He read them twice, then set the phone down. He wasn't ready. Not yet. Because right now, he didn't know if he was fighting for his future, or just delaying the inevitable. Chapter 7. Samantha's wake-up call. The gym was buzzing with the usual soundtrack. Thudding weights, squeaky sneakers, and pop music that sounded like it had been engineered in a lab to make people do burpees. Samantha walked in with her water bottle and a knot in her stomach. She hadn't slept much. Her parents' words still echoed in her head. Respect is the foundation. Tammy's blunt honesty hadn't helped either. She'd been so sure Bill was overreacting. But now she wasn't sure of anything. She scanned the room, looking for Jake. He was easy to spot, tall, tan, and wearing a tank top that looked like it had been painted on. He was laughing with a woman near the squat rack, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder as he corrected her form. Samantha froze. The woman was gorgeous. Long legs, perfect ponytail, the kind of person who probably drank green juice for fun. Jake leaned in, said something that made her giggle, and Samantha felt nothing. No jealousy, no sting. Just clarity, sharp and sudden. Jake wasn't the problem. He never was. The problem was her. She'd let herself get swept up in the glow, the compliments, the attention, the easy validation. It had felt good, being admired for something other than wedding plans and seating charts. But somewhere along the way, she'd blurred the lines between motivation and obsession. And Bill had paid the price. Samantha turned away, heart pounding. She didn't want Jake. She wanted Bill, the man who made her laugh when she was stressed, who cooked her salmon just because, who believed marriage was about showing up even when it was hard. She wanted that kind of love, the kind that didn't need spotlights or applause. Tammy found her near the treadmills, tying her sneakers with unnecessary force. You okay? Tammy asked, eyeing her friend's stormy expression. Samantha blew out a breath. I've been an idiot. Tammy raised an eyebrow. That's specific. I didn't cheat, Samantha said quickly. But I disrespected him. I made him feel like he wasn't enough. And he is. He's more than enough. Tammy softened. Then tell him that. I tried, Samantha said, pulling out her phone. He hasn't answered. Then try harder, Tammy said. Show him you mean it. Samantha nodded, determination settling like armor. She wasn't losing Bill. Not without a fight. That night, Samantha sat at her desk, staring at a blank page. Texts weren't enough. Voicemails weren't enough. She needed words, real words, the kind that didn't fit in a bubble on a screen. She picked up a pen and began to write. Bill, I've spent the last 2 days asking myself why I let things get this far. The truth is, I wanted to feel beautiful, strong. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that you've always made me feel that way without treadmills or trainers. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel small. You're not small. You're the biggest thing in my life, and I want to spend forever proving that to you. If you'll let me. She stared at the words, tears blurring the ink. Then she folded the letter, slipped it into an envelope, and whispered to the empty room. Please let this be enough. Chapter 8. The Olive Branch. The envelope was sitting on the porch when William stepped outside for the morning paper. No text, no knock, just a plain white envelope with his name, written in Samantha's looping script. He stared at it for a long moment, coffee cooling in his hand, before picking it up like it might explode. Inside was a letter. Real ink, not pixels. He unfolded it slowly, eyes scanning the words. Bill, I've spent the last 2 days asking myself why I let things get this far. The truth is, I wanted to feel beautiful, strong. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that you've always made me feel that way without treadmills or trainers. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel small. You're not small. You're the biggest thing in my life, and I want to spend forever proving that to you. If you'll let me. By the time he reached the last line, his chest felt tight. He set the letter down, rubbing his jaw. Damn her. Damn her for knowing exactly how to hit him where it hurt, and heal him at the same time. He wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. But he wasn't ready to let go either. His mother appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Letter from Samantha? Bill nodded, holding it up. Good, she said simply. Means she's fighting for you. Bill snorted. Feels like I'm the one who needs a referee. His dad wandered in, coffee mug in hand. So what's the play? You gonna meet her? Bill hesitated. I don't know. His dad shrugged. You love her. Bill shot him a look. Of course I do. Then meet her, his dad said. Worst case, you confirm she's not the one. Best case, you stop sulking and I get my garage back. Bill laughed despite himself. You're a real romantic. Hey, his dad said, grinning. I proposed to your mother with a coupon for free oil changes. She said yes. Bill shook his head, smiling faintly. Fine, I'll meet her. He texted Samantha later that afternoon. Coffee tomorrow? Neutral ground. 3 p.m. at Brew and Bean. Her reply came within seconds. Yes, thank you. I'll be there. Bill stared at the screen, heart thudding. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, closure or a second chance. But for the first time in days, he felt something other than anger. He felt hope. Fragile but real. Chapter 9. Coffee and clarity. The bell above the door jingled as William stepped into Brew and Bean, the smell of roasted coffee beans wrapping around him like a warm blanket. He spotted Samantha immediately, curled in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug like it was a lifeline. Her hair was down, her makeup minimal, and for the first time in weeks, she looked vulnerable. Bill's chest tightened. He walked over, every step heavy with uncertainty. Samantha looked up, eyes wide, relief flooding her face. Hi, she said softly. Hi, Bill replied, sliding into the seat across from her. The silence that followed was thick enough to chew. Finally, Samantha spoke. Thank you for meeting me. Bill nodded. Figured it was time. She swallowed hard. Did you read the letter? I did. His voice was calm, but his fingers drummed against the table. It was honest. Her eyes shimmered. I meant every word. Bill leaned back, studying her. Then tell me, why? Why did Jake become the third wheel in our relationship? Samantha flinched. I didn't realize how much I was talking about him. I swear, Bill, it wasn't about him. It was about me. Bill raised an eyebrow. Enlighten me. She took a shaky breath. I wanted to feel beautiful, strong. And when Jake complimented me, it felt good. Too good. I let that validation get in my head. But I never wanted him. I wanted you. I still do. Bill stared at her, words pressing against his teeth. Do you know what it felt like? Sitting across from you, listening to you compare me to some guy you've known for 2 months. Her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. Bill's jaw tightened. Marriage isn't about butterflies, Sam. It's about respect. Showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard. I know, she whispered. And I failed at that. Bill exhaled slowly, the anger in his chest softening into something heavier, hurt. I love you, he said quietly. But love doesn't survive disrespect. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Then let me earn it back. Bill looked at her for a long moment, searching her face for truth. He saw fear, regret, and something else, resolve. Finally, he spoke. No wedding plans. Not yet. She nodded quickly. Okay. We start over, he said. No Jake. No comparisons. Just us. Her lips trembled into a smile. Just us. Bill reached across the table, taking her hand. Felt familiar and foreign all at once. Don't make me regret this. I won't, she whispered. I promise. For the first time in weeks, Bill believed her. They sat in silence for a while, fingers intertwined, the hum of the coffee shop filling the spaces words couldn't. It wasn't a perfect ending. It wasn't even an ending, but it was a beginning, a fragile, hopeful beginning. And for now, that was enough. Chapter 10. Resetting the rules. 2 weeks after the coffee truce, William and Samantha were sitting in a therapist's office that smelled faintly of lavender and optimism. The chairs were plush, the lighting soft, and the therapist, a calm woman named Dr. Patel, had the kind of serene expression that made Bill wonder if she meditated for sport. So, Dr. Patel said, folding her hands, you've decided to start over. Bill nodded. No wedding plans. Just us. Samantha squeezed his hand. We want to do this right. Dr. Patel smiled. That's a good start. But starting over means setting boundaries. Clear ones. Bill leaned back. Boundaries sound great. I'm a fan of boundaries. Samantha shot him a look. Don't make this a joke. I'm not, Bill said deadpan. I'm just relieved someone else is in charge of rules now. Dr. Patel chuckled softly. Let's begin with respect. No comparisons. No third-party commentary. Samantha nodded quickly. Agreed. Bill smirked. So Jake's officially banned? Samantha groaned. Jake is banned. Forever. Good, Bill said. Because if I hear his name again, I might take up boxing. Dr. Patel raised an eyebrow. Boxing? Bill shrugged. My dad's idea. Samantha laughed for the first time in days. A real laugh, bright and unguarded. Bill felt something loosen in his chest. Later, over lunch at a diner, Samantha stirred her iced tea nervously. Do you think people will think we're crazy? Calling off the wedding and then… This? Bill shrugged. People thought I was crazy when I bought a kayak. I don't care what they think. She smiled faintly. I missed that. What? Your sarcasm, she said. It's like home. Bill grinned. Glad to provide comfort. Tammy, of course, had opinions. She cornered Samantha at the gym a few days later, arms crossed like a drill sergeant. So, therapy, huh? Samantha nodded. It's helping. Tammy smirked. Good. Because if you screw this up, I'm siding with Bill. Samantha blinked. You'd pick him over me? Absolutely, Tammy said. He makes better chili. Samantha laughed so hard she nearly fell off the bench press. For the first time in weeks, things felt lighter. That night, Samantha texted Bill a photo of her dinner, a sad-looking salad, and wrote, No Jake involved. Promise. Bill replied with a picture of a burger the size of his head. Boundaries respected. Also, you're missing out. She sent back a laughing emoji, and for a moment it felt like old times. Not perfect, not fixed, but better. Chapter 11. Back to the gym, William Howard had sworn he'd never set foot in that gym again. The last time he'd been there, he left drenched in sweat and humiliation, silently cursing every treadmill in existence. But Samantha had asked, gently hopefully, if he'd join her for one session. Just to see what I've been working on, she'd said, eyes bright with something that looked like trust. So here he was, standing in front of a wall of mirrors, wearing sneakers that hadn't seen daylight in months, and wondering if pride could be stretched like a hamstring. Relax, Samantha whispered, squeezing his hand as they walked in. It's not a competition. Bill muttered under his breath. Tell that to Jake. As if summoned by sarcasm, Jake appeared near the free weights, all tan skin and tank top bravado. He spotted Samantha and grinned like a toothpaste commercial. Sam, great to see you. Bill's jaw tightened. Here we go. Jake's gaze flicked to Bill, and his smile dimmed just enough to sting. Hey man, back for round 2. Bill forced a grin. Yeah, thought I'd give gravity another shot. Jake chuckled, then turned back to Samantha. We're doing deadlifts today. You ready? Before Samantha could answer, Bill stepped forward. Actually, she's with me. Jake blinked. Oh, sure. Samantha shot Bill a look, half amused, half warning, but said nothing. Instead, she guided him to a squat rack and started explaining for him. Bill listened, nodding, pretending he wasn't aware of Jake hovering nearby like a motivational hawk. Half an hour later, Bill was sweating buckets, but he was holding his own. Sort of. Samantha cheered him on, her voice warm and proud. You're killing it, she said, handing him water. Bill grinned, breathless. Tell Jake that. She laughed, leaning close. I don't care what Jake thinks. I care what you think. The words hit him like a clean lift, solid, grounding. For the first time in weeks, the knot in his chest loosened. As they packed up, Jake strolled over, towel slung around his neck. Great work today, Sam. You're crushing it. Samantha smiled politely. Thanks, Jake. Then, without hesitation, she slipped her arm through Bill's and kissed his cheek. We're heading out. Jake's smile faltered. Cool. See you next time. Bill didn't gloat. Okay, maybe a little. But as they walked out, he felt something shift. Not in his muscles, but in his heart. Samantha had drawn a line, clear and bold. And for the first time since the ring came off, Bill believed they might actually make it. Chapter 12. Laughing through the wreckage, Dr. Patel's office was warm and quiet, the kind of place where even arguments sounded polite. William and Samantha sat side by side on the couch, not touching but close enough that their knees almost brushed. Progress, Bill thought. Slow but progress. So, Dr. Patel began, her voice calm as chamomile tea. How have things been since our last session? Samantha smiled faintly. Better. We've been talking more. Bill nodded. And less, comparing. Dr. Patel tilted her head. That was a big issue for you, wasn't it? Bill smirked. Big enough to cancel a wedding. Samantha winced. I deserved that. Bill softened. I'm not trying to rub it in. Just, yeah, it mattered. Dr. Patel leaned forward. And now, Bill glanced at Samantha, who was twisting her ring finger absent-mindedly, the one that used to hold his ring. Now, he said slowly, I think we're learning how to respect each other again. Samantha's eyes shimmered. I missed us. Bill smiled faintly. Me too. Dr. Patel nodded approvingly. Good. Humor can help rebuild trust. Have you been able to laugh together? Bill chuckled. Actually, yeah. Later that night, they were sprawled on the couch, takeout containers scattered like trophies of survival. Samantha scrolled through her phone and suddenly burst out laughing. What? Bill asked, suspicious. She turned the screen toward him. It was a meme. When your trainer says one more rep, and you're already seeing Jesus. Bill snorted. That's accurate. Samantha grinned. Jake used to say that all the time. Bill raised an eyebrow. Careful. She laughed harder. No, listen. I can't believe I let that guy become a wedge between us. He's not even that funny. Bill smirked. Not funny, not subtle, and definitely not me. Samantha leaned her head on his shoulder. Exactly. You're better. Bill pretended to think. Better than Jake? That's a low bar. She nudged him. Better than anyone. For the first time in weeks, Bill believed her. And laughed with her, really laughed, until the tension that had haunted them melted into something lighter. Something like hope. Tammy, of course, had to weigh in. She FaceTimed mid-laughter, squinting at the screen. Are you two giggling? Is this a rom-com now? Samantha grinned. We're working on it. Tammy smirked. Good. Because if you break up again, I'm keeping Bill for chilly nights. Bill raised his takeout box. I accept. Samantha rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered long after the call ended. That night, as they curled up together, no rings, no wedding plans, just two people trying again, Bill realized something. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about resilience, about laughing through the wreckage and choosing each other anyway. And for the first time since the storm began, he felt ready to choose her. Chapter 13. Choosing each other. Spring sunlight spilled through the cafe windows, painting the wooden tables in gold. William sat across from Samantha, a small velvet box resting between them like a question mark. He hadn't opened it yet. Not because he wasn't sure of the answer, but because he wanted the moment to feel earned. Samantha's fingers hovered near the box, trembling slightly. Bill, are you? He held up a hand, smiling faintly. Not yet. Let me talk first. She nodded, eyes wide, heart thudding loud enough for her to hear. Bill took a breath. When I walked out that night, I wasn't just angry. I was scared. Scared that I was losing you to something stupid. Scared that I wasn't enough. Her throat tightened. You've always been enough. Bill smiled sadly. Then why didn't I feel like it? Samantha blinked back tears. Because I forgot to show you. I was so focused on looking perfect for a wedding that I stopped being present for the person I was marrying. Bill reached across the table, taking her hand. I don't need perfect. I need real. Messy, stubborn, sarcastic you. She laughed through her tears. You're getting all of that. Good, he said softly. Because I love you, and I want to marry you. But not because it's on a checklist. Not because it's a deadline. Because we're ready. Her voice cracked. I'm ready. Bill opened the box. The ring gleamed like a promise. Then let's do this on our terms. No rush, no pressure. Just us. Samantha stared at the ring, then at him, and for the first time in months, her smile was pure joy. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times yes. Bill slipped the ring back onto her finger, and it felt different this time, lighter, stronger, like it belonged there because they'd fought for it. Later, as they walked hand in hand through the park, Samantha teased. So, when do we tell Tammy? Bill groaned. She's going to demand chili as tribute. Samantha laughed. Deal. As long as she doesn't ask for Jake. Bill smirked. Jake who? She grinned. Exactly. They stopped under a blooming cherry tree, petals drifting like confetti. Bill kissed her, slow, certain, the kind of kiss that said we made it through the storm. And as the world hummed around them, Samantha realized something. Love wasn't about butterflies. It was about choosing each other again and again, even when it was hard. And today they chose each other. Epilogue. Chili, confetti, and a promise. 3 months later, William and Samantha were hosting a backyard barbecue, a casual celebration of their re-engagement, as Tammy insisted on calling it. Fairy lights twinkled across the fence, laughter floated through the warm evening air, and a giant pot of Bill's famous chili simmered like a badge of honor. Tammy clinked her glass dramatically. So when's the wedding? And don't say someday. I need a date for my calendar and my outfit. Bill smirked. We're thinking fall. Something simple. No gold napkins, no eucalyptus salads. Samantha laughed. And definitely no gym memberships as wedding prep. Tammy grinned. Good. Because if you two implode again, I'm keeping Bill for chilly nights. Bill raised his spoon. I accept. Samantha rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered. You're ridiculous. Bill leaned close, voice low enough for only her to hear. Better than Jake? She laughed, swatting his arm. Jake who? Exactly, Bill said, grinning. Later, as they stood under a canopy of fairy lights, Samantha slipped her arms around his waist. You know, she whispered, I think we're better now than before. Bill kissed her forehead. We are, because we fought for it. She smiled. And because you make killer chili. He chuckled. That too. As laughter bubbled around them and petals drifted like confetti from the blooming cherry tree, Bill realized something. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about resilience, humor, and choosing each other again and again. And tonight they chose each other.